Hey, I am Mr. Machek, and you need to prepare to buy a home. This video is going to explain the 3 things that are super important, and if you are a young person or someone who's never purchased a home, then you really should watch this video. I'm going to try to make it real quick about 3 things you need to do and how to prepare yourself. The more you learn about this now, the better prepared you will be to get the best interest rate, but more importantly, to actually qualify. So let's get right into it. We have 3 things to talk about. All right, the first thing is income. What does the income have to do with you buying a home? And quite frankly, it's about the repayment of the debt. The bank, here's how they look at it. They say, do you have the ability to repay the debt that we are about to lend you? Now, even though there is a property, a piece of land, like a condo, a house, whatever it is, that secures their investment, they still want to make sure that you don't default. They don't want your house. They just want you to pay. So how do you prepare your income to look good to a bank? Because it's one thing to make good money. It's another thing to prepare it and package it in a way where a bank says, I like this guy, I like this gal. So we need to talk about 2 different ways that people have their income showing up on their tax returns. One way is a W-2 employee. Now this is the majority of people. The other way is a 1099 contractor. This is a self-employed person. So first, let's address this right here, which is the W-2 employee, which is the easier one because this is what most people fall into. So as a W-2 employee, you get a W-2 at the end of the year, and then you get to file your taxes. Now, you don't actually have to work 40 hours a week. You can work 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week. What's more important is the total amount of money you make, the taxable amount. You know, when the IRS looks at your tax returns, they want a certain dollar amount. And as a W-2 employee, you cannot deduct a lot of stuff. You can deduct some things, but you can't deduct as much as a self-employed person. So we'll talk about that in a second. So if you're a W-2 employee and you're making, let's just say $30,000 a year, because you're working part-time and, you can't find another job or you got a situation. Well, the IRS is looking at a total dollar amount that you are taxable on, and most of your taxes come out from your paycheck already. That's kind of how payroll taxes are set up, and you can have some options there to make it less or more, but basically you're not really going to owe too many taxes at the end of the year. So this right here is the number that a lender will take, and then they will use it as a qualifying to see how much do you actually qualify for based on your income. And now let's talk about the other side, because a lot of you people have a regular job and then make additional money on the side. And that is income that you might be creating, in your own business or something, some little startup that you have, or maybe just some side hustles. So first of all, the most important thing about being a self-employed person is that you have to report everything to the IRS. Now, not only is this the law, but obviously you have to report it and then pay taxes on it. So if you made $100, washing someone's car and detailing it, well, you're not really pocketing the $100 because you're claiming it to the IRS that you made some money, and you have to deduct your Social Security taxes, if you have any state income taxes, and so on. And then you have expenses you can write off, which is excellent. That's one of the benefits of having, your own company. So if you do have a side hustle, or if your main job is one that is your business, well, you have to make sure not to deduct too much. Now, you want to deduct actual expenses because you want to lower your taxable amount as much as possible. That's just common sense. You don't want to pay unnecessary taxes if the game of the IRS taxation laws can be used to your advantage. It's just a game. You're not cheating anything. But the more you do that, the lower income you end up with. So let's just say, for example, that you made $75,000 doing some business. And then you deducted your expenses, and now you had $30,000 of expenses of materials or something. And then you deduct your car. You drove a lot, you had a lot of gas expenses, and then you deduct and you deduct and you deduct. And at the end of this, money that you earned is $75,000, maybe only $10,000 is taxable. So you pay taxes on $10,000, which is pretty much nothing, right? Well, a lender or a bank is going to take your tax returns and they're going to say, oh, wow, you only made $10,000. You don't qualify for jack. You can't get a loan on a house with $10,000. And you're going to say, well, no. I've been using the rules of the IRS legally to go and deduct everything so that I can pay little taxes. And the bank is going to say, well, it looks like you don't make any money, so I'm sorry. So you have to be pretty strategic. And there's a couple ways to do it, but at the end of the day, go talk to your accountant and get this number to be the highest you can possibly get it if you're ready to purchase a home. And you obviously still need down payment and credit score and all this other stuff. So this is about the income, okay? Now let's go to the point number 2, which is about your debt to income ratio. And what does that mean? Well, it's really simple. I'm going to break it down in simple terms. It can get complicated, but your debt to income ratio. What is the ratio of all of your debts to your income? It's that simple. So for example, if you're a W-2 employee and you make, let's just say $4,000 per month, okay, that is your take-home pay, $4,000 a month. But then when you pull your credit report, and you can check on Credit Karma or Credit Sesame how much your payments are. So you go and you check what on your credit report, how much is your credit card monthly payments, the minimum, not your balance, the minimum. How much is your car loan? How much are your student debt loan payments? How much are all your subscriptions on the credit reports? But you have to make sure that whatever you're using in your debt to income ratio, it's whatever is actually showing up on your credit report. And then you do the ratio. You literally sum it all up, and let's just say it's $1,333 in this example, and you take home $4,000. That is a 33% debt to income ratio. So now you have to make sure that with the remaining money that you are able to qualify for a home. Now, if you can do all this math yourself, but what I highly recommend are 2 things. One is you want to go and research online and get some really cool Excel spreadsheets that calculate your debt to income ratio for you. And second is you want to call a lender that is in the business of mortgages. And I do have a great lender if you want to talk to him. I have a link below. His name is Chris Cavazos. And he's going to be able to help put you on the right track so that your debt to income ratio looks proper for a home purchase. And before I move on to the third thing, let me just tell you the easiest way to correct your debt to income ratio. Pay off your debts. That's it. Whatever is showing up on your credit report, pay them down to 0. So if you can, pay all your credit cards off, pay off your car loan, and whatever other debts are showing up. The biggest one that people have a problem with are credit cards and cars, so that's why I started there. All right, now the third and final thing that the banks look at when you're gonna go get a home loan is your credit score. So obviously, when you improve your debt ratio, your credit score is gonna jump. But what if you have some late payments? What if, 3 years ago, you had some accident and it caused you to fall behind on your payments that you've now all caught up? Is that going to be a problem? And the short answer is, well, it depends, because it really depends on all your other things showing up. So I recommend you just download the app called Credit Karma and go check what your Vantage score is. This is not your FICO credit score that banks use, but it's pretty close. It's really like plus minus 10, 15 points. It's really close to it. So download the Credit Karma, check what your credit score is, and keep track of it. And it's going to show you if you have any derogatory remarks. And then I recommend you research online how to fight everything that's derogatory. Because believe it or not, you have the upper hand in this. Even though right now your credit score might be lower than the ideal. And to purchase a home, the ideal is minimum 680, although there are some programs that can go lower, but ideally you want to be above 680. Actually, ideally you want to be in the 750s, 760s, but that does not mean you can't get a loan at 681. So what you want to do is you want to see what is actually a derogatory remark and what is Credit Karma suggesting you do. And for some people, it's waiting 3-4 years before a certain item gets removed from your credit report that's derogatory. And for other people, it's just paying down some debt because they have too high of a revolving credit utilization. Now, if you don't know what any of this means, no problem. Just research a little bit. It's pretty simple. This is not that complex. But now I'm going to tell you one last thing. To prepare to buy a home, you need some money. Now, the good news is that most people think that they have to have 20% down, and that is not true at all. I purchased my first home with 3% down 21 years ago. That's all I needed, and I had the seller pay all the closing costs. So if you get with a good realtor, you're going to be able to actually get representation that is in your advantage. And you don't know what you don't know, but a good realtor does know what you don't know. And we know how to structure the offer so that you can actually purchase the home. So don't forget that you need to save up some money, but you don't need 20%. FHA is a minimum 3.5% down. If you're a veteran, you can get a home purchase with 0% down. If you want to buy rural property, you can use a USDA loan, also has 0% down in some instances. Right now, Florida has what they call the Hometown Heroes program, where they literally lend you at 0% interest rate, 0 payments, up to $35,000 or 5% of the home purchase price. And then there's also the first time buyer program. Now this is just like misused terminology, but basically you can do a class that teaches you about financial accountability and how to pay mortgages, and a very simple class that you do over a couple of hours. And they grant you money, they give you money for a down payment, usually about 3%. So there are programs out there, and if you want to know more info about those programs, I recommend you call Chris Cavazos. If you have any questions about real estate, please reach out to me.